Hello, and welcome to Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh's Kids Club at Home. My name is Kevin, and once again, I'm really happy that you could join us this week. Now, April is National Poetry Month, so today we're going to be creating acrostic poems. These are a special type of poem where the first letter in each line spells out the subject of the poem. We'll get into that a little bit more here soon. Now, I enjoy this kind of poetry because, quite honestly, I'm not a super creative writer, and this structure gives me a lot of rules and guidelines for helping me complete my poem. Now, caregivers, this activity will involve both spelling and phonemic awareness skills. Spelling, we're all probably pretty familiar with. It's when we arrange symbols, called letters, into patterns or sequences that form units of meaning, which we call words. Spelling is visual. Phonemic awareness skills, on the other hand, are oral and auditory. And it's the understanding that words are made up of individual units of sounds called phonemes. Both spelling and phonemic awareness skills are really essential to develop for strong readers and writers down the line. So let's do this week's icebreaker. And since we'll be thinking a lot about individual words for this activity, let's start with that. What's a word that you really like hearing, saying, or seeing somewhere? It could be in English or not. This is a tough one for me. There are so many great words out there in English and not in English. But right now, at this very moment, I would say I have two favorite words. One is Zamboni, the term for the ice resurfacer that maybe you've seen at hockey games and other controlled icy environments. I also really like the word kerfuffle, which, fun fact, up until very recently, I thought was pronounced kerfluffle with an L, a first L. It is not. It's just kerfuffle, but I still love it anyway. There is no fluff in kerfuffle. So what about you? What are some of your favorite words? Feel free to share them with us in the comments wherever they're open. So as I said, this week we will be writing acrostic poems, and the very first step in that process is to pick a subject or focus for your poem. That's the person, place, thing, idea, or whatever that you will be writing about, and that will be spelled out vertically with the first letter of each line. Now, you could go in a couple of different directions for this. You could pick a subject or a word that you know a ton about that might be pretty easy for you to fill out the lines. Or if you're up for more of a challenge, you could pick a word that maybe you're less familiar with, maybe even one that you have to research or think about for a while, and really try to figure out how to fill out these lines with maybe not as full knowledge. Now for me, I'm going to take the easy way out. I'm going to pick a word that I know a fair bit about, and that is the word library. Now here you're looking at step 2. Step 1 was think and decide of the word, and step 2 is to write it out vertically on a piece of paper. Don't worry about spelling too much for this. Do the best you can, ask for help, look it up, whatever you feel works for you, but actually perfect spelling is not super important for this. So this is step 2. Now before we move on to step 3, which is actually writing our poem in this area, let's investigate this word a little bit. Library. And let's start with a simple question. How many letters are in this word? Take a look. I count 7. Now what if I asked how many sounds are in this word? That's a little bit different, and actually looking at the word doesn't really help with that, does it? How many sounds are in the word library? Maybe we need to build up to this with a slightly shorter and easier word. Let's do the same thing with book. Related and pretty familiar. How many letters are in book? 1, 2, 3, 4. There they are. How many sounds are in the word book? It's a little bit trickier, but let's bubblegum it out. Let's do that thing that you probably shouldn't do, but it's kind of fun anyway, or when you're chewing on a piece of bubblegum and you really stretch it out to see how far it can go. Let's do that with the sounds in this word. B, k. I count 3. But how can a 4-letter word have 3 sounds? Let's think about that, and this time looking at it might actually help. Yeah, you're right. These 2 letters in the middle, these 2 O's right next to each other, these 2 letters combine to make one sound. B, k. 4 letters, 3 sounds. Which brings us back to our old friend, the library. 7 letters still. That would be unusual if that had changed in just the last minute. How many sounds? Let's bubblegum that out again. O, I, B, R, E, R, E. Now, I needed 2 hands for that, but that was 7 sounds, although it got a little funky here with the AR, air, but that sounds like 2 sounds, air. So when you really bubblegum out library, you have 7 sounds for 7 letters. This will be interesting to keep an eye on with your own word and any other words you choose to investigate. How many letters are in a word? How many sounds are in that same word? And is it the same? So take a look at the word you've decided, and if you haven't written it out vertically, you can do so. Again, don't worry about spelling for that. And then we'll move on to our next step, which is filling out the lines with feelings and thoughts and observations about the subject of our poem. Once you have your word spelled out vertically, whether it's perfectly accurate or not, it's time to start filling in the lines. Now, my first line starts with the letter L, so that means that the first word in that line will need to start with the letter L. Right across here. So I could write, since we're thinking about libraries, lots of books, movies, music, and more. Or late nights reading in the stacks. And then my first line would be done, and now I'm down to the I line. And for the I line, it could start with something like, in good weather, bad weather, and everywhere in between. Or immersed in worlds so different from my own. And then you just keep working your way down, making sure that the first word in each line starts with the letter written along the left. So this is a great time to start thinking about words, phrases, feelings, ideas that go with your subject, and give it a shot. Fill it out. You don't even really have to go in order. I'm going to get started on mine, and I'll show you what I've got when I'm done, and I look forward to seeing yours as well. So here's what I came up with for my first acrostic poem about the library. I'm not sure how well you can read that, so I'll read it aloud just to be safe. Late nights and long hours reading, in the stacks, on a couch, and at home. Books, yes, but so much more. Really helpful people, always curious about your interests. Returning late books, you aren't in trouble. So I really enjoyed the process of going through that, capturing different aspects of the library and how I feel about it. And if you had really good eyes during that video right before this, you might have noticed that I didn't go exactly in order. I just kind of went in the order that ideas came to me. How about you? How did your shot at an acrostic poem go? Did you go in order, or did you bounce around like I did? Was it easy for you to come up with things to say, or did you have to think about it? If you had to do it all over again, would you do it the same way or different? Well, it's funny you mention that, because we are going to do it again, but with a slight twist. This time, when we're coming up with our subject, we're going to do a quick drawing or sketch of our subject first, and then use the ideas from that experience to fill out our lines in our next poem. Now, caregivers, we've turned writing into drawing before, but we're going to flip it this time and turn drawing into writing. This is another method of visual brainstorming, where we're not concerned about writing out words and getting the spelling exactly right, but we're just drawing the thing or person or place we're going to be writing about, and that process will generate ideas. And this kind of pre-writing, whether it's through drawing or, yes, through written words, can help fill out much more detailed and focused writing in the finished product. So my second subject, my second word, is going to be a person. I'm going to write my second acrostic poem about a relative of mine who is no longer alive, but was very important to me when I was a teenager, especially, my Aunt Pearl. I'm just going to go with Pearl when I write it vertically. I'm going to do a quick sketch of my Aunt Pearl as best as I can remember her. And then as I'm doing that, I'm sure I'll get all sorts of ideas about what to write about her. But I'll show you my sketch first, and then we'll get to the writing later. So for you, think about the subject of your second poem, and you can get sketching as well. You just need a piece of paper and something to write with or draw with. No fancy materials required. I'll show you what I've got when I'm done. So I finished my sketch of my Aunt Pearl, the subject of my second acrostic poem. Let's take a look. There she is. Yeah, it's got smudges all over the place, the curse of being left-handed. But other than that, I'm really happy with how it went, mostly because it gave me lots of memories and ideas for what my writing can be about. Here are some examples. While doing my sketch, I remembered how big a basketball fan she was. That's why it says "Go Knicks" up there. I remembered how tiny she was. It's hard to tell in a sketch, but she was a little lady. But also, the other thing I've remembered was how explosive her laugh was. She might have been a small person, but when she laughed, it was so loud in all the best ways. And these are just a few examples of things that I remembered while doing the sketch of the subject of my next poem. So it's going to be time to write about it soon, but first, how did your sketch go? Did doing the sketch help you think of ideas about your subject? If so, what kinds of ideas came to you while going through that process? Did you prefer sketching, or maybe would just writing down ideas be more helpful to you? People's brains work differently. The sketch really worked well for me, and I'm going to move ahead and start writing my second poem soon. But first, let's take a look at the word pearl. Maybe you've already written your second word vertically, like I did. And I just can't resist. Let's do the same thing for this word as we did for library and book, starting with the simple question, how many letters are in pearl? I count 5. And now the trickier question, how many sounds are in the word pearl? Again, looking at it doesn't really help that much for this second trickier question of how many sounds there are. P, ol. I count 3, which feels kind of funny because it's a 5-letter word. It means it has 2 fewer sounds than it does letters. Let's try that again. P, ol. I think it's 3. 3 sounds in a 5-letter word. And if you really look at it, now looking is a little bit helpful, it's funny because the E and the A, it's almost like they don't exist. It's almost like the word could be spelled P-R-L, pearl. So it might be interesting to take a look at your word, or at least take a listen to your word if you haven't written it yet, and see and compare how many letters are in the word, do you think? And how many sounds are in the word based on hearing yourself or someone else say it. So I'm going to get started on writing my Pearl poem, my ode to my favorite relative, and you can get started on your second poem as well, and we'll take a look on the other side. So here's what I came up with for my second poem, the one about my Aunt Pearl. Let's take a look. Here it is. 5 lines for 5 letters. I'll read it to you. Patrick Ewing equaled favorite player. Explosive, cackling laughter. Appealed to a grumpy teenager. That was me. An impressive feat. Ready to talk basketball at any time. Little lady. Loved life. I feel like this really captures Aunt Pearl pretty clearly, and I admit to finding the sketching process really helpful in giving me ideas for what to write about. What about you? How did the sketching process affect your writing? Did any ideas that came to you during drawing make it into your final poem? If you were to write a third poem, what kind of subject would you choose? I know a very popular subject for many acrostic poems is you, the writer, the poet, your name. So mine could be about Kevin, although there aren't that many words that start with the letter K. If you really think about it, that could be a challenge, but by all means, give it a try on your own. I hope you enjoyed doing today's activity as much as I did. I really enjoyed, in my case, thinking about places and people that are really important to me and finding ways to fit that importance into an acrostic poem. And really, acrostic poems are just one type of poetry. There are so many other forms and formats, and I encourage you to explore them. Now, if you have suggestions for future activities for us to do together at Kids Club, we'd love to hear them. You can share them in the comments wherever comments are open on social media. You can find us on Twitter as @Carnegie Library, or on Facebook by searching Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. If you're interested in trying out another poetry activity, you can check out PBS Kids' Found Poetry activity on their website and also in the links. It involves collecting words and phrases from your immediate surroundings and stringing them together in this flowing poetic collage, and best of all, it does not involve special materials. If you're interested in books about poetry, we've got you covered for that too. You can check out Thinker, My Puppy, Poet, and Me, a picture book written by Eloise Greenfield and illustrated by Ehsan Abdollahi. It tells the story of a boy and his dog who are poets together. They exchange poets and poetry all the time. Until one day, it's Pets Day at school, and the boy is faced with a tough decision. That book is available for you to check out on OverDrive, Libby, or Hoopla, which means once you do so, it'll be there for you to read on your screen right away. And for more recommendations from us at the library, please reach out to us anywhere we're online, and we'd be happy to help you find something, whether it's related to poetry or not. If you don't have a library card and are interested in getting one, we can help you out with that. You can visit us at our website, carnegielibrary.org, or just give us a call at 412-622-3114, and someone will be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us again at Kids Club. You can tag us at Carnegie Library and share what you made today, and be sure to stay on the lookout for grab-and-go kits from your neighborhood CLP locations to help you participate in future videos. We miss you, we hope you're staying safe, and we'll see you soon.